So just this morning, I went out and ate a sausage McMuffin for breakfast this morning. And I have to say, those things absolutely slap. I know there's like a tiny little conspiracy theory going around that like there's human meat in like McDonald's burgers. And I'll be brutally honest with you guys, I don't think so. Okay, there's no way human meat is this delicious. I think everybody would be a cannibal at that point. I just don't feel like humans are this tasty. Okay, there's just absolutely no way, right? I don't know. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video because I actually wanted to break down what, in my personal opinion, are the best SDCC exclusives for the year of 2025. I should clarify, I already made an entire video where I broke down what are all of the exclusives for the year of 2025. Now, I try to break down as many of them as I possibly could. There are still some manufacturers out there that still hadn't decided to reveal their SDCC exclusive, so I did leave them off of the list. Don't sue me, okay? They're the ones taking forever, so I probably haven't covered a few manufacturers here and there. I think McFarlane was probably the biggest name out there that I did not cover, but anyways, who cares? Okay, if you didn't make the cut, McFarlane, if you didn't meet my time frame, my timeline, my deadline, then that's on you. Okay, I'm just totally kidding here. But yeah, in today's video, I thought that we would cover what, in my personal opinion, are the best SDCC exclusives. And I have to start off with the heavy hitter, the one that actually has brand new stuff. It feels like a lot of the manufacturers for SDCC, at least for the year of 2025, is just a bunch of retooling, a bunch of reuse, a bunch of repaints, and that's not at all what we're getting here with the Black Series 2-pack. It's featuring Anakin and Obi-Wan in a beautiful, phenomenal 2-pack. It's supposed to be based on Revenge of the Sith. Not only are we getting these beautiful display pieces, which essentially, you know, they're kind of like a little diorama set, but you're also getting brand new body molds for both Obi-Wan as well as Anakin. Brand new technology from head to toe, brand new articulation scheme, brand new head sculpts, brand new force pushing hands, brand new like lightsaber effect pieces. I mean, they're going all out with this particular release. Now, granted, it is a little bit more pricey, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were going to retail at about like $110, so it definitely is a little bit pricey, but this is exactly what you expect from SDCC reveals, especially for the Black Series line. I think they've released a couple of these sets that are pretty elaborate and come with a bunch of like diorama pieces. That's kind of what I feel like with this particular reveal. This is an absolute heavy hitter. If you're just a fan of action figures in general, this is something to keep an eye on. But if you're a big giant Star Wars fan, this is definitely something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. The other one that I wanted to talk about is the TRex convention exclusive one, which is essentially, I know a lot of people are going to lose their minds over it because yes, the TRex is essentially just a reuse or a repaint of the original TRex body mold. They've been, you know, retooling it and reusing it now for the past few years. But it will include this, like, I guess it's supposed to be a convention attendee dressed as a dinosaur. It's like one of those inflatable, it's supposed to represent like somebody cosplaying as a T-Rex in one of those inflatable outfits. It's hilarious. It's beautifully done. You get a soft goods banner, you get a little tote bag and a couple of extra accessories in there. This is exactly what you expect when you think convention exclusive. There are a lot of these manufacturers that have kind of broke the fourth wall and have released collectibles that are essentially like the figure is at the convention. I think they did an Alf figure for NECA not too long ago, I think last year, where it was like Alf like cosplaying as a superhero and actually going to the convention. He had, you know, some little articles and some little accessories that made reference to that, and that's exactly what you're getting here. I think this is an absolute masterful little set that you can get. I think the price point for that was about $90, which isn't really too bad. As I said, the T-Rex alone is, you know, if you buy it at full retail, it's like $50 to $60 around that price point. So you're only really paying the extra $30 for the soft goods banner, the cosplayer, and then the extra little accessories, which honestly, it's an absolute banger of an offering. Again, if you're just a fan of convention exclusives, just keep an eye on this. But obviously, if you're a huge Jurassic fan, this is an absolute must-have in my personal opinion. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Funko and I don't collect a lot of Funko Pops, but they did actually have some really cool DC Pops out there. They'd have, for example, that original release. If I'm not mistaken, it was like Batman, Robin, and Penguin. And if I'm not mistaken, those were the original convention exclusives from, I think, 2010, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'm just going off of what the description said. But yeah, I think those were like, and they definitely look like the original style Funko Pop. So I think they're just re-releasing them or reissuing them in that clam plastic packaging. So you can kind of display it on your wall and I think it'll last a little bit better. And you don't have to buy like a protective case, which usually you have to do with Funko Pops. You buy those little Funko Pop protectors, which usually can be pretty expensive. I think it's pretty cool. You're also getting an Azrael Batman as well as a Kingdom Come Batman, which both of them are very intricate, and they're versions of Batman that we've been waiting for quite some time. Those are must pickups, or at least you can, keep an eye on them if you're a big Batman fan. And I should reiterate, this is coming from somebody that doesn't collect Funko Pops at all. I just thought they were really cool. And if you're just looking for San Diego Comic-Con merch, if you're actually going to be at the convention, it's probably a smart idea to stop off at the Funko Pop booth. Moving on, I thought we would give a little bit of love to Beast Kingdom. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's one of those manufacturers that I recently started following. I'm not necessarily a huge fan because I haven't picked up any of them, but it's definitely one of those lines that I keep an eye on because some of their collectibles, some of their offerings are off the charts. They do a lot of Disney collectibles, they do a lot of DC, they do a lot of Lord of the Rings, so on and so forth. And they did show off a few things, but the two that really stuck out to me had to be that Batman in that blue and gray uniform with the extra hands and the Batarangs, and then they had a Kingdom Come style Superman. Both of them have, if I'm not mistaken, fabric wired capes. Now, I mentioned this in the previous video, but these are a little bit bigger. They scale closer to like 8 to 8.5 inches, so they're definitely slightly taller than the DC Multiverse from McFarlane, and that makes total sense because McFarlane probably wouldn't allow anybody else, especially since he has the license at this moment. He probably put something in the contract that stipulates that nobody else can make manufacturers at the same scale. He doesn't want to compete with anybody, and so Beast Kingdom has always made their action figures just a little bit taller, a little bit wider, a little bit beefier, and that really, I think, reflects the price point here because both of these figures are about $60. Granted, it seems like a little bit of a steep price, but at the same time, as I mentioned, they're a little bit taller. There's way more plastic involved. A lot of the time, the Beast Kingdom offerings have stuff like light up features. They have extra accessories that you would never see with the DC Multiverse line. So I think they each have their own qualities, they each have their own highlights. But if you're looking just to try out some really cool DC collectibles, this is probably a perfect opportunity for you, even if they're not necessarily something that you can throw into your DC Multiverse display. Although I will say I've never owned any of these, so I'm not sure how well they scale. I've often thrown around the idea of like having them in a flight pose or on a flight stand, or having them like hunched over. Maybe you can kind of sneak them into your DC Multiverse display. I'm not 100% sure. As I said, I'll eventually get one, review it for the channel, and then give you guys my personal take on the manufacturer as a whole. But there you guys have it. Those are just some highlights. Those are some of the figures that I think, at least in my personal opinion, really popped for me. There was a Gandalf figure for Beast Kingdom, as well as a Cobblepot for Batman Returns. But as I said, these were the ones that just kind of like jumped out at me, and I said, you know what? These are the best collectibles that are being offered at SDCC from multiple different manufacturers. I think each one of them had something that I really, really wanted. So it's a matter of just kind of picking and choosing. I will say I really wanted to add Jaded Toys to today's list, but honestly, they're a little bit lackluster. They just have a bunch of like repainted Player 2 versions. And then they have those little tiny characters, those little miners for, I forget what their name is, but those little miners for Mega Man. I don't know, it was a little bit lackluster. It was a little bit disappointing from Jada. I kind of wanted them to do something just absolutely crazy to blow away my tiny little T-Rex brain. But as a whole, I think I'm very excited for SDCC 2025. Obviously, I'm not going to be there, but I'm going to try to, kind of experience the entire event through other people's eyes. I know a lot of people, great content creators are going to be there recording, doing live streams. I know Robo does some great live streams and some great content covering the convention. I know Toyshiz does some great stuff and some other great content creators in there that I usually keep up to date with. And as I said, they just make some absolute heavy hitter content. So hopefully they enjoy, or whoever goes actually enjoys the convention, but I will definitely be enjoying it here, shedding some big giant salty tears at home because I can't make it this year. But it's still very exciting to see new action figures, new collectibles, and I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Let me know down below in the comment section. Are you guys actually excited for the convention even though you're not going? Or if you are going, what are some collectibles that you plan on picking up while you're there at the convention? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and as always, make sure to enjoy the hobby. That's the most important part of all this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.